chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina Speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You need to hear with some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sabrina Speaks. And good morning to our global family. Welcome to another soul-stirring edition, as I said, of Sabrina Speaks. Voices of the Islands, conversations for the world, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. Today, we are not just talking tech. We're talking transformation, where we'll be diving into bold new chapter in our nation's story, one that begun on October 6, 2025, when the Cayman Islands government launched the National Digital Transformation Strategy Task Force. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Digital transformation? Sounds like something from Silicon Valley and not 7 Mile Beach. Sounds like something is going to control my entire life. But let me tell you, this isn't about losing your identity. It's about preserving it, protecting it, and propelling it into the future with intention, innovation, and integrity. Joining me later on in the show, yes, today, our three visionaries, for sure, could be joined by one other individual who are shaping this journey. Yes, and I'm talking about the Honorable Premier André Ebanks, who is leading with the heart and foresight. I'm also talking about the Honorable Minister Isaac Rankine, who is championing innovation for every Caymanian, and Christine Spratt, yes, chair of the task force, whose mission is to ensure that no one is left behind. Yeah, because we will be asking the real questions. You know, we have tackled it here before. We've tackled it here. You know it. We have been, I'm trying to get my Instagram peeps up and going, so just bear with me, my sweets. We are going to be asking the real questions. I encourage you to join in as well in the conversation. If there's something that you needed to be clarified, today's the day, because we're going to be having them on with us. There we go. We're going to be having them on with us, and we're going to be asking questions like, what does this strategy mean for our people? Like, I've been hearing it here. Who owns the data and how safe is it? Will this digital shift change our way of life or enhance it? And how do we separate myth from truth when it comes to control, privacy, and progress? But if you remember, we had 2 different episodes here on Sabrina Speaks. We spoke about the Constitution and the role it plays, what your rights are, and all that sort of stuff. We even had a show on the digital ID, which was pretty much just scratching the surface. And then bang, October 6th, this task force rolled out. So you can't say that you haven't already gotten some foundation. And a lot of the questions that you had in that discussion, feel free to bring them back up here. And definitely because of us having that conversation before, I'll do my best to incorporate it in this discussion. So this isn't just about a conversation. It's a call to clarity, a moment to understand the vision, the purpose, and the promise behind this strategy. So I encourage you to go grab your tea, go grab something, settle in, and Let's unpack the future together with honesty, curiosity, and a whole lot of love. Because the content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself, guests, and or participants, is intended solely for general information and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional legal, medical, or financial advice. And I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for your specific concerns. Sabrina Speaks disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented. But because we're all about fact, this is your space. I welcome you. And for all of those persons who you don't want to miss an episode because you're just enjoying the content that we're sharing here, please don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Yeah, but it is a pleasure to be back with you here as we embark on this new week, as wet as heck as it can be. Yeah, you see that? It's all over the place now. We're going to be having some unsettling weather that's in our area. I want to encourage you to keep it locked to your local media stations for more information. But we're expecting a lot of rain. We still don't know what's going to be the outcome of this tropical Invest 97. That should it become a tropical storm, it will take on the name of Melissa. Should it become a hurricane, it will retain its name as Melissa. But there are a lot of right now uncertainties based on what's in the weather forecasting about this. It's expected we will know exactly what it's doing by tomorrow into Wednesday, but whether or not it turns to go over Puerto Rico and Jamaica area, or whether it goes down to Belize and Nicaragua and all of those, we don't know. That's the weird thing with forecasting. You don't know. And all of the models are showing that whatever it is, it's going to be in our area. It will produce a lot of rain, like you're seeing. We've been inundated, thank God for it. But what we're actually experiencing now and the unsettling weather that we're having now has absolutely nothing to do with this tropical system. What we're experiencing even over the weekend has nothing to do with this weather. No. So that means more is to come. More mosquitoes are going to be bugging us. Yeah. More mosquitoes, more frogs. Yes. But more so, look, we don't need a tropical cyclone. Just be prepared because it only takes one. And whether or not it's a direct, Danny, I could get you. And I'm not actually trying to become a forecaster either. Trust me. But so far, everything is aligning. I've even gone on to all of the other weather station, but nothing beats coming back home. And that's why I thought it was important for me to share this here ahead of time, because something will be in our area because our grounds are already saturated. God forbid if in some of these gusts, because of the grounds being so saturated, we could have toppled trees and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot, but not taking away from a meteorologist's job at all. I just thought it was important for me to share that with you because this is in the public's domain. But yeah, keep it locked to your local media stations for the latest updates and information as we get it here on all CMRTV.com platforms. We will also be sharing it with you as well. But things are still happening. Life continues until inclement weather closes it down. I hope that the spa day, the Tropical Lions Club of Tropical Gardens event yesterday went well. And the older persons, their gala was on Saturday night. OMG. I hope that people really, really enjoyed that. And today is the 20th. What's happening today? Seniors Talent Show the talent show at the Harkwell Theater. Yeah, registration that's happening here today. Yeah, and the 21st Wisdom and Wellness session at the public library that's happening in Cayman Brack. So yeah, tonight that's still on. I haven't gotten any updates that that anything has been canceled because of inclement weather. But again, as we talk about, know the colors, what you should do. But I'm just going ahead a little bit. This is all available on the Hazard Management Facebook page. But just get to familiarize yourself with this because we're still in the hurricane season that goes until the end of November. But interesting things, lots have been going on. You can see I was out and about this weekend. I registered. I won't be sharing those pictures. Oh my God. I was like busy as a bee. I went and I registered for Walk for the Cure. kudos to Shadden and all of those people out there. And I went over to International Lighting, by the way, and I got my Dutch pot ahead of the Christmas season, getting ready for my Christmas beef. My Cayman style beef and whatever else you can cook in that Dutch pot. I swear to God. Edwards has some pots in there, and then about I big, but literally I could fit in those pots. It all depends on how big your family is. But then, in preparation for even the Pirates Week celebration, which, by the way, I don't have it, but I'll get it by the end of this show. Their calendar of events is out now as well. I didn't grab it, but I will get it. And we got the Honorable Minister to be coming on a little later. Maybe he can dabble into that a little bit. Let's see. But yeah, it's amazing. A lot of people did not realize that Edward had those pots. And with all of the cooking for our traditional meal that we can experience over Pirates Week, he did do a couple sales after I showed me buying my pot. And then I went on down to Cafe del Sol and I got myself my Saturday frappy in between all the raindrops. Yeah, I still found time to get a Frappuccino. So yeah, busy day for me, weekend for me. I was happy to be out and about and just having fun, meeting people, just exchanging. I even managed to do a little bit of Foster's. Can you imagine? I was like a bullet in there. Yeah, I was like in and out. Yeah, it was crazy. So I hope your weekend was good. You see, I had some delicious food as well. Yeah, I got a little thing in the kitchen. It's not only around the grill. I can do a little thing or two. But yeah, hi, Marshall. You're the first to actually comment this Monday afternoon. Hi, Connie Bonnie. How you doing, my sweet? Happy Monday to you. Miss Mitzi, welcome. Need to grab my water. Water, yeah, right. That way you can tell me. You see you, Danny, you trouble. You are trouble. But it's good to have you here. It's good to be back on a Monday to see all of my peeps. Hi, Miss Dorothy. Good evening to you. You are more than welcome, Miss Marjorie. It's a pleasure to have you. And I thought it was so fitting. I saw this article. Remember I told you about the digital footprint and all of you guys who are traveling to these EU Union jurisdictions? Guess what? Now that the summer travel is behind us and everybody's actually planning on traveling for the holidays, guess what? Even though the summer is in the rearview mirror, the big changes could be in store for your next European vacation. Oh, heck yeah. Whether or not you're into this digital footprint, you ain't going to have no choice. It's started to roll out. It has already started. Because last week, and I brought this up on a previous episode, that as of the 17th, digital traveling, like your whole facial imagery, imaging and fingerprints and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's a step into no longer needing your passport, because last week the European Union started to roll out their new system that changed how non-EU visitors, including Americans, how they enter and exit from more than 24 countries. Think about that. So whether or not you've made travel plans or just thinking about a trip, you better listen to this because things are going to seriously change. Yeah, for all of you who like to collect those stamps in your passport, you will be able to do that for the next 6 months. But they've already started to roll out. You can be expected to be fingerprinted. Yeah. When you first encountered this new entry-exit system at a border point, and this could be train stations, this could be your ports, your airports, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, your photo, fingerprints, and passport details will be recorded. And in some areas, you'd be able to register at self-service kiosks. Now, on future trips, your biometrics will be verified against the very same system. Yep. And it's pretty much the race to becoming, those first jurisdictions that are document-free airports. Can you imagine? Yes, it's already begun. I told you guys this was going to roll out as of the 17th. So you should not be shocked on this space. You should not be shocked. But now it's a reality. And it affects most of the EU jurisdiction. The new system is being implemented in 29 European countries. Belgium, Bulgaria, Austria, Croatia, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece. My brother's right now in Germany. Yeah. Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Italy. Yeah. Liechtenstein, Malta, Netherlands, Lithuania, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, and Switzerland. Yes, all of these jurisdictions are actually impacted. And your stay? Haha, yeah, Connie. Yep, your stay will be tracked. And non-EU citizens are not only allowed to spend 90 days out of every 180 days in the European Union bloc. This new system that they're rolling out that will come in effect full, I think, around April of 2026, will track how long you stay to enforce the 90-day limit. So you know what this is going to do with overstayers? This system will help them track persons who have overstayed. Now, even though it's a staggered rollout as of October the 12th, yeah, that's gone because we're now October 20th, each country began using this new system for at least one border crossing, and then they're going to roll it out to all border crossings, all ports by, yes, April of 2026. So passport stamps will be ending, but you still got about 6 months. You can still collect these stamps if you ended up going, let's say, over the holidays, just before Easter or March, April, that sort of stuff. But after 6 months, once the system goes fully in place next year, your entry will be all logged digitally. So if you think it's not coming, it's coming. And if you're ever going to travel to any of those jurisdictions, you're going to need biometrics. So that's the way of the world. Yeah, Connie. Those are my favorite vacation spots. Hand over your head. Girl, it's coming. Hey, Cayman Braca. How are you? Marjorie, wish I get some cooked turtle, the fin with rice and beans and bread kind, cooked by real Caymanian. No ketchup, please. Put it out to the universe, Miss Marjorie. Well, I got definitely the pot, and I know where they can go and get the pots to make this a reality. Yep. But I've been scanning my print since last year. There you go. So you're well and ready. I'm definitely waiting on my rest of my guests to present themselves, but I'm excited about this conversation, and I'm excited to see exactly what's in store, and only my guests would be able to deliver that, being very candid in the way we're going to deliver today. And for all of you who are very vocal in here in asking these questions, there are a lot of speculations, there are a lot of fair, and there's so much information that is just flooding the internet. It's like you're confused. I'm hoping that where the Cayman Islands is concerned, and all I've been teaching you in regards to the Constitution and your freedom is there as it pertains to your privacy and all this sort of stuff, and your fears about which government department pretty much is going to own the data, who wants to give up all of this control. When you think about, for the amount of information that you pretty much, have you ever set up a new phone? Have you ever set up a new laptop or iPad? You know how much information you're giving to that, even your security codes and all that sort of stuff, just to access your smart device, that 90% of you got about 6 of them in your house? Yeah. Even when you talk to your door, unlock, please. Yeah. Guess what? That's the same thing. We're trying to protect you from it. You're giving all of this information just being on Facebook and Instagram and whatever grams else you're on. I mean, I'm just trying to get into it, but yeah. So yeah, I'm hoping that after this task force, this group of people that are versed in it, after we have this conversation today, that you will see from the Cayman's perspective exactly what's in store, what's behind it. We'll understand the vision, the purpose, and there are like 3 pillars that they're going to put in place. And we're going to explore these 3 pillars and exactly what this digital footprint is all about. And they're going to break it down in layman's terms for us. We're not going to use no highfalutin terms so that we don't lose anyone. So yes, for those of you who are late to class, yeah, I see you. We're going to be expecting the Honorable Premier. We're going to be expecting the Minister Rankine, and the Chair, Miss Spratt, and I'm also seeing somebody else in the background. This is a surprise. Just go tell your friends. Tune on. tune in, log in so that we can definitely get the conversation going. And yeah, so I'm excited. How was your weekend? Let me know how your weekend was. I'm just waiting for the rest of my guests to join us so that we don't talk without them. You know how they are. It'll be good to know what your is like. Uh-huh. I know, just wanted you to say it again. Oh, you big head. Yeah, I got some of the best guests, to be honest. And you know what I love with you guys? You guys are, you know what to expect. You know what you want. And I like the openness from you guys. I totally do. I really do. Yes. You are keeping me actually to know, because sometimes in this space, this virtual world, which I think we need to get used to it, that we're connected, even though we're not in the same room. But based on the feedback and conversations that we're having, it's really cool to see you guys commenting, and just here we are. So yeah, thank you for your feedback. Thank you for all of your comments. And you can see the interaction that we have here. I post as much, if not all of your comments on the screen, and which is key. That is key. Yes, 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 yes. Miss Marjorie, I'm afraid of all of these new travel laws. It's the way of the world, Miss Marjorie. Can you imagine no longer long queues? Yeah, why not? If you got global entry or any of those, have you guys been to Disney World and you get the fast pass? That's where the world is going to go. It is what it is. You pay extra bucks for it and you get a fast pass. I'm just trying to make it relative. And who doesn't want convenience? Yeah, who doesn't want convenience? Plain and straight. Good evening to you as well, my love. Yeah, but don't be scared. You're scared because you probably don't know. You're scared, Miss Marjorie, because you're seeing so much stuff. I'm not going to call it crap because I respect everyone's perspective. But really and truly, there is so much information out there about the digital transformation, where we're going as the world. Yet we're saying we want convenience. Yet we're hearing so much about working smarter, not harder. Yeah, you're fearful maybe because you don't have the facts. Maybe you are not asking the right questions. And even if you don't know what question to ask, I was petrified of technology until Sandra threw me under the bus. And what I found myself doing here now is just like, are you kidding me? This is how easy it is. It makes life easier. Yeah, in some cases, but I was honestly petrified of embarking in this space of technology. And you're realizing that many of us are going to be left out of a job if we don't keep up with what's happening, because that's honestly where the world is going. And you're more marketable the more you keep up to date with the latest trends and technologies. Now, not everybody's going to be it, right? But don't limit yourself where you are totally left in the dark when it is so simple, just a click of a link. Yeah. And you have these video calls with your children, your grandchildren, your brothers, your sisters around the world. Look at this very space. I mean, we got people watching us from Australia. We got our UK fans. People go on vacation and they tune in real time. That's the way of the world. So yeah, it's only a matter of time. And I feel, Miss Marjorie, I'm hoping that by the end of this podcast, by the end of this episode of Sabrina Speaks, that you'll be a little bit more embracing with all the technical experts that we have here, and that they would be able to answer your questions. And should there be something that we're discussing that you would need more clarity on, by all means, you're very good at commenting on the space. I would be more than happy for the team that'll be on in a few moments to be able to address your concerns. And that's for anybody else who is always locked into Sabrina Speaks. It's nothing new. We've been giving up our information from time we went digital. Donna, you're quite right. Now, a lot of protections were lacking. A lot of streamlining is also needed. And when you even look at the hodgepodge, patchy of even how our government internal systems work, the data is already there. Yes, it may be fragmented in silos. Pretty much the digital footprint that they're trying to get now is trying to get it pretty much in one space with the protections so that you're not sold to the black market. And I'm only repeating words that I've heard from previous podcasts and your feedbacks. And how are they going to hijack you and all this sort of stuff? Well, you know what? Even if planning got hacked once or other government departments got hacked, the important part is that they have put in things and systems now that, let's call that an exercise. Now we're looking at rolling this out on a national stage for a digital ID footprint. I would think there'd be lesson learned from other jurisdictions, and they would be able to be looking for people like on this task force for what they have to offer as we look at it from a broader scale. We mentioned Barbados, we mentioned Jamaica, we've mentioned Bermuda, and we've seen where they've had challenges rolling it out for the very same fair freedom of information, protection of people's personal information, who will own the information, what if it gets sold on the dark web, and all that sort of stuff. I'm hoping that this task force would be able to actually calm those fears to let you know, well, this is how we're going to approach this, that. So it's going to be a very, very important discussion. And I'm hoping, again, that these things will come out in the discussion, but we'll take it in layers so that you will understand from my guess exactly how this came to fruition. Because even though it may be the mandate of where the world is going, I've explained that as a British overseas territory jurisdiction and a small island development state, that we don't make decisions on our own, and that the role of our elected arm and how they answer to the UK in that sort of stuff. Then we did the comparison of what the UK has where digital footprint is concerned versus what we have, and at what point do we have a say or don't have a say. We know that this is optional. It's not mandatory. So, hey, we're going to fine tune it today with the experts and also the elected arm. So you can't say we're not balanced. You can't say we're not. But I hope that I was able to give you enough information on the earlier episodes that it's not anything new to you. We're fine tuning it now with this task force that rolled out here on October 6th. And based on your concerns, your questions, any apprehension that you had, any doubts that you may have, that those myths will be dispelled after this episode. And at the end of the day, you still have a choice. You still have a choice. And how we're going to make sure that this new way forward, that everyone is included, no one's left behind. And even those persons who are latecomers or those who just refuse to come on board at all, that you're not disenfranchised in any way and that you'll still be dealt with your dignity if you choose not to opt in. So this is exactly what your freedoms are all about. And I'm hoping that, that today's conversation will actually bring that round in full circle and you'd understand that your voice does matter. And whether or not you'd have a say at the table, what's in store, what's in plan, we'll actually answer that as well too. And how you do it is also key. We'll answer that too. That's why I'm so happy with my guests being lined up and what they're going to deliver. So just let me answer some questions. Miss Marjorie, I keep having to get a waiver to the USA because I do not want to go to Jamaica to renew my US visa. Why can't they come here, the Jamaican visa office, just to renew only? Because the US embassy is in Jamaica, and unless you're a US citizen, which you wouldn't need a visa, there's a US representative. But yeah, there's no other way around it. I know you could go to Nassau, but for the Cayman Islands, where we have to go to is Jamaica, because they have the final say. Even if you go to the Bahamas, unless you're directed by Jamaica to go to the Bahamas, that's the only how you would actually be allowed to go. But the first place of contact for your US visa is Kingston, Jamaica, unless you're told otherwise when you're going through and you're making your appointment. Maybe with choice now and everything that's happening in the geopolitical landscape, hint, I won't go too much in that. If you reach out to some of these businesses that are actually doing visa renewals, US visa renewals, maybe you can ask if there's an option where, Ms. Marjorie, whether or not you can have a choice of going to the Bahamas. Now, I know for summer students, for those on student visas and stuff like that, because of the time frame and the wait times, Sometimes they will say go to the Bahamas, but that's only because they would have already signaled the Bahamas. But to just take it up on yourself, people have actually done that, go to the Bahamas to try and renew, and they get turned right around. They just have a good weekend in the casinos and wherever else. Yeah, but they still end up having to go to Kingston. It all depends on the officer that you get. So, yeah. But it is quite interesting. As I said, for those of you just joining us, and I see two of my guests already in the background, just asking for some more time. I'll be joined by the Premier, Minister Rankine, and I know I already got the chair here, but I will be joined by some guests as we hear more about this task force joining us today. But we're just waiting for the Honorable Premier, and they have a hard cutoff, but I've been trying my best to fill the gap with as much information so that when the information starts coming, we will get questions or needing clarity. Yeah. Sabrina, I'm 78 and alone. Yeah. Well, you know what, Miss Marjorie, you can make a request to see whether or not, based on how long ago your visa expired, whether or not based on your age, if you even have to show up in person. Sometimes what they will do is they will actually, they can act through this office. I'm not speaking on their behalf by any means. There have been cases based on age and circumstance. It all depends on when the last US visa expired that you didn't have to show up for a renewal in person. You just do it all online. So you may want to explore that, Miss Marjorie, a little bit more. There was a point where you didn't necessarily have to show up in person based on your age. But that also depended on how long your last US visa expired. So you may want to actually explore that. Good evening, Barbara G. How you doing, my sweet? It's always good to have you here. And for all of you who are doing it privately, hi, Nats. It's always good to have you. We're waiting on the Honorable Premier and the Honorable Isaac Rankine to hear about more. We're talking about the National Digital Transformation Strategy Task Force here this evening on Sabrina Speaks, and we will have an excellent lineup of panelists and guests to tell us more about this rollout and what it means for us here in Cayman. And like I said, for all of you who had suspicion and doubts that this is a step in the direction where they're going to control their lives, they're going to control how we actually do business, they're going to pigeonhole us. I'm hoping that today's explanation, as candid as my guest will be, will demystify all of that and actually answer all of those questions that pretty much were swirling around maybe the dinner tables, around a domino table that was not based on facts, but I'm hoping that it'll be based on facts after this episode. Yes, I have to go in person. Checked it all out already. Yep, Miss Marjorie. Based on what you told me, yeah, I figured you would have to go in person. So, no exceptions to that rule, my sweet. It will definitely be one of those things where it'll be a miracle if they said otherwise. Ethel, good evening to you, my love. How are you? It's always good to have you here. Lisa, good evening, Sabrina, and to everyone having a beautiful rainy day. Well, if you really love this type of weather and like me, work from home, I don't mind it. I can stay inside. But for those who are our frontline staff, and kudos to them, all of our emergency persons, who have to go out there no matter the weather, they have to go. Thank you for your service. For those in the medical industry and field, again, thank you for all that you do. We appreciate that. But yeah, be safe on the roads. There are a lot of standing water, and I'm hoping that the NRA crews who are out blowing drains and vacuuming in some of the areas that are already inundated with water, that just traverse our roads with caution, because these young men who are out there giving us the service, they are dads, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunties as well, because we've got maid and female in the service, front lines. Yeah, just honk your horn and say thank you. Thank you for your service. Yeah, so talking about filling the gap here this evening, I'll tell you what, let's see what's going on with, we did the seniors already. And today is the 20th. So yeah, seniors talent shows this evening at the Harkwell Theater. Yep. Boy, I love my little peoples. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Sabrina Speaks. You're live. How are you?
Good evening. You better stay in because with all this rain, your friends can be out cracking and flopping.
No,
So you better stay inside. I don't hear them.
I never have no problem with me. You coming out?
They're jumping outside.
Oh.
They can jump, boy.
You got no problem with me. I'm sorry.
You know? That's why I hear a little rain out there. Just not like to hear the old boy got a night alcohol because it's been raining on me.
No.
I don't feel too bad, Miss Marge, because me and you in the same boat. I gotta go to my visa. My visa expired from 2005. So they say that's too long. And then yes, you're right, Sabrina, about Bahamas. First they used to give it to you then, but I know plenty of people went there and they tell them, ask them why they come that go where they used to go before in Jamaica or a place.
Correct.
They also have a American embassy in Belize. They'll raise some time in Belize. Then him and Ernie, and then I went back. I don't want to go neither. And then I asked about the age, and they say, I think this is 80.
Okay.
80 not.
All right.
They were like, I still got many moons, so go for that. So I go down.
Right.
Yeah. When can go, I don't care. When I was Jamaica with Julian, I had said I was going to try to, but we got to do so much right there. And I mean, that the embassy was right up the road from us, because I know where it is.
Okay. Yep. But that's how it is.
They say after that expire, I think more than 2 years.
Yeah.
Although I had already, you got to get, and I had the indefinite, and I had 10 years and all that, but you got to be interviewed again.
There were some huge changes after the COVID, the 2-year lockdown. Anything around that time got a little wonky.
It's expensive, man.
Yep.
Very expensive. And I was, because I heard the other day they were saying something about 180 or something like that, and then it going up to, but if you don't get it, it's 280. Something I heard, some food, but it's expensive.
Yep.
But I just one stop that I set my way on Halloween in them other countries. I don't think I'm going to them, but I would like to see them, but the flight's too far and thing. That's what I told Miss Lucille this morning. She will go and get heart attack because I can't come England to her funeral because them flight's too long for me. I can't sit not that long. I'm headed to Tampa, from here to Miami, from here to Honduras. I'll be dying.
Yeah, my thoughts and love goes out to Miss Lucy. She became very emotive this morning, very emotional this morning.
The bird shouldn't be in the air that long.
Yep.
I'm afraid to fly because I like to sit by seat. I'm afraid of heights, but I like to sit by the window to look out. But I don't want to be no plane no longer than maybe an hour the most, hour and a half. But anything past that, for the birds.
Yep. Yes, my love.
All right.
But thank you.
On the ocean for the sea, for the fish. I wouldn't even go in the Atlantis submarine thing. I'm afraid because I suppose it's go down, don't come back.
Oh, wow. No.
We had win some free tickets one time. They were from the school and we made them expire. I wouldn't go. I'm afraid.
Yep. All right, my love. Thank you so much.
But you stay in because your friends are out. At least I don't know about Prospect, but up in here. But they got to be out there. We got just as much of them as we have chickens, and I don't see much iguanas, but we still got plenty of chickens.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
All right,
my love. Take care.
Bye.
Sure. Yes, as we wait for the arrival of the Honorable Premier and the Honorable Minister, we will be, for those of you just joining us, like I said, we will be speaking with representatives, the Honorable Premier, the Honorable Isaac Rankine, Miss Christine Spratt, Chair of the Task Force, and we'll be all talking about what was rolled out on October 6th here in the Cayman Islands when the Cayman Islands government launched a national digital transformation strategy task force. So we'll be hearing a lot more from them in regards to that as well, and what's about to come. Now, I know over the weekend, please, and I'm glad that I have the time, my old homeroom teacher, Mr. Albin, I'm just finding out now that he passed away. So our sincere condolences to the Albin family and also the Trumbach family as well known here in the Cayman Islands. Mr. Albin, He was my high school homeroom teacher every morning. And it was good memories. Class of 1990. Everyone who was in there knows of him. And especially you had built a relationship with him as well, especially if he was your homeroom teacher, because he was mine for 3 years. So yeah, that when I saw that just now, that hit home. And of course, the Trumbach family as well. Our thoughts and prayers go out to that family. Miss Marjorie. Oh, here we are. Yep, they're here. I have over 15 chickens in my backyard to give away. People, anyone. Well, Miss Marjorie, what we'll do to avoid giving your location out all over the world where you live, you can send me a personal WhatsApp message with your location, 936-8255. That's WhatsApp. You can message me your location and people can message me if they got these chickens that they would want to have. My guests are in the background, so I'm getting ready to pull them in studio. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks.
Good evening. Did I just hear you say that your panel is on now?
I'm getting ready to pull them in right now.
Okay. No, I was gonna ask you some questions to ask them to kind of fill the time.
Just listen in and either comment or call in once they deliver, because I think one person or two persons have to leave at a hard and fast. So I would love to give them their opportunity.
All right.
But your questions are always very engaging, very informative. I welcome you to comment or call back in.
All right. Can I call while they're on?
Of course you could, but let's just get started. Let's get started, and then you can call back if you don't mind.
I'll call back.
Thank you very much. There we go. Well, without further ado, it is a pleasure for me to bring in this virtual studio here this evening. 1, 2, ta-da! Good evening and welcome to Sabrina. It's a pleasure to have you all here. I'm getting feedback. I guess that's from somebody's volume. Welcome.
Good evening.
Everybody hearing me?
Hi,
welcome.
Hi. Thank you for
Can
having
you hear us?
Yes, I'm hearing everybody.
Good evening, Sabrina Turner.
Good evening.
Good evening, Cayman. And if there are Caymanians overseas who are listening, good evening to you all. Or good day could be.
Yep. It's good morning, good evening, good night. We have them all over. We even have persons in Australia as well who tune in for this. So, and they join us at various stages of our discussion. So that's why I keep repeating who we're speaking to, what we're speaking about as well, because people will join us at various times during the podcast. And so sometimes you will see even comments and questions come up. It all depends on where they're watching us during the live.
But it's good to see you, my friend, in your new element. You look good.
Thank you. I leave the stress to you. I'm just having fun.
No time to eat chili, right?
I got a bone to pick with you. But it's a pleasure to have you all here. And I noticed we got Thompson. Yeah, she was a surprise guest.
I'm just popping up.
Well, it is a pleasure to have you all here because, as I said at the intro, on October 6th, the Cayman Islands government rolled out this National Digital Transformation Strategy Task Force. And there's so much swirling around as we have the conversation about our national ID and just digital footprint and just so much misinformation out there. I am really hoping that at the end of the day, that after this discussion, that it'll be clear for persons to any misinformation, any myths would be dispelled. And Honorable Premier, you're really leading the heart of this foresight. And Minister Isaac, you're championing the innovation. And I'm quite sure Tamsin has her place as well. And when it comes to foresight and all that sort of stuff. So I can understand the importance of having the likes of Tamsin here. And then we got with Christine Spratt, who's chair of this task force, whose mission is to ensure that no one is left behind. But, we've had previous podcasts as well where I spoke about the national ID transformation. And I think people are getting this whole 2030 mixed up, the one world order. And then here we are coming with this digital footprint. But I'm really hoping that by the end of this podcast today, that, the questions that are being asked would be as candid as possible. We're not going to have any jargon that people can't understand. Really go into some of the question. What does the strategy mean for our people? Who owns the data? What are the risks and chances of our information being stolen or sold on the black market? How safe is it? Will this digital shift change even our way of life and inclusion? For those who are late with coming to class, those who refuse to opt in, is it mandatory? Is it, there's just so much. But I'm just so happy that you all found the time to actually be with us here today. So welcome again. And Premier, why not just start it with you?
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Very good intro. So maybe to take a step back and parse issues. So the Digital Transformation Task Force is quite separate and apart from a national EID. So let's put that in a completely different box, because that's not to say it can't have a linkage to this, but it's quite separate from what we're discussing. At root, what we're discussing is that all around the entire world, a digital transformation is occurring globally, principally in the form of artificial intelligence that is changing the way that human beings interact and work. For example, there are now students using tools, AI tools, like ChatGPT to assist them with their education. Answers on exams, answers to paper. There are adults in the workplace using AI tools. There are now businesses using AI tools that are now starting to consider, well, I used to have a human being do this. Now AI is doing this in a much more efficient way, faster way, a less expensive way. What now would now be the human being's role? So as this is happening worldwide and is already here in Cayman, so this isn't us looking ahead and trying to introduce something because it's happening overseas. It is already here. The question is, what regulatory or legal framework do we need to put in place that would assist the country maximize the benefits, but then also put in safeguards because there are risks to using it? So take my example about businesses that are now using this technology. There was an article about a week or two ago, and I think either New Zealand or Australia, where a Big Four accounting firm was fined by that relevant government for producing reports using artificial intelligence. So the question is, if that happens here and folks are relying on or have procured services from a firm to produce these reports, you're expecting them to be accurate, not just pushed through a program and then produced.
Right.
What should be the fine in a case like that in Cayman if it were to occur here? How in any way could we prevent that from happening in the first place? So as the technology shifts, so picture going from, say, horse and buggy to a automobile, what must now be the new rules of the road? Because this is here and happening.
Okay. Wow. Thank you. I think that's an excellent way from your perspective, which you're steering behind it. And now you look into the whole strategy. Let's look into that, where Minister Rankine comes in. How does this strategy then align with Cayman's broader innovation goals then? Understanding your technical expertise, what you do, from your what's your remit, not only as a minister, but the strategy that aligns the Cayman Islands' broader innovation goals.
Well, just briefly, thank you, Sabrina. But just thinking from a very broad perspective, but going back, digital transformation has been around for us for a number of years. I mean, if you look at, for example, Netflix, it used to be mail-in service, but they then moved to streaming. That's digital transformation. People buy refrigerators that has that Samsung interface that connects to the internet. That's digital transformation. So a lot of these things, as the Premier has said, has been around and in place for quite some time now. How that affects us from a broader scope is that this will give our people more opportunities now.
Right.
Educational wise, and working so that we can develop our kids and move them into the technology field, the AI field, learning AI, learning programming. It would also touch on a number of different areas of our government and our private sector, and across different remits, so to speak. The Premier mentioned about having the legislation in place to ensure that we do it, but we do it right.
Right.
Not
With
doing
the
it right
Constitution
could
into
cause us-
consideration as well.
Exactly. So not doing it right could cause us some major headaches down the road, but we have to ensure
Correct.
that while we are on that pathway, that we're creating the guardrails around what we are doing so that our people are safe and they feel safe when we're moving forward with this digital transformation.
Correct.
And as
Excellent start. Excellent
the
start.
two sides of the coin in terms of mitigating risk is also to maximize opportunities. So, for example, I gave this example on another program whereby 3 weekends or so ago, I visited with the CI National Robotics Team.
Yeah.
So at the end of this month, a group of Caymanians who are in high school compete at a robotics international competition. I think it's in Panama. 190 countries are participating. And their job is to build a robot. I got a chance to drive the robot. It has a sort of video game remote control. The example that I gave them is that the robot has a job to have a task to say, move this glass from here to here. Ordinarily, a human being would do that. Now that the robot has been built to take on that task, the human being's job is now converted to maintaining the robot, fixing the robot if it goes down. So I said, students, you're now reality, and our job as the government is to prepare you for the job of the future. Because the machine now can do what ordinarily would have been done.
Right.
So now we need to convert you and make sure that you're learning how to program the robot.
So they're not
that
left
your
without of a
now
job.
becomes
Right.
different. So you're not out of a job.
Correct.
We now have to change the curriculum, change commerce, and get you to the job of the future.
Reallocation of resources and upskilling people.
Exactly.
Which may be now far lucrative than
Right.
perhaps say would have been to just move the glass from here to here.
Correct, which is where it ties in education, and even as you alluded to, the curriculum, in making sure that we're not left behind, that we're preparing our students now, and this is straight across the board, all age groups, that our curriculum now has changed to look at what is happening as we evolve in this digital age.
Correct. So that sort of sets the framework so that us men don't dominate the conversation.
No, I'm going to bring in the other two. Yeah,
let's
definitely.
bring in the chair of the task force, Miss Christina Spratt.
Hi, Miss Christina. Welcome, and it is a pleasure to have you here with us. Please let us know exactly what your role is. Besides, you are the chair, but just throwing in your introduction, exactly what does this whole digital transformation truly mean for the average Caymanian? So I'll just throw you into the thrust of things as well. Might as well hit hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having us. I really
It's
do
a pleasure.
appreciate the space for us to have this conversation, because I know that there is a lot of questions around it. What is this going to do? What does this mean for us? Is this not going to be that the machines are going to control our lives? And what's really important is that digital transformation isn't just about the technology. And that is something that needs to be in the forefront of everybody. It's about making life easier for every one of us and using technology in a smart way.
Right.
We use technology already in our everyday life. Are we using it smart? Are we being conscious of how we're using it? Are we okay on how we're giving out our information? If there's a lot of people that simply don't care how they're giving out their information, but there are people that do care. And it's important that we have at least the information at our fingertips to understand understand the convenience that there is with digital transformation and the opportunities that are out there with digital transformation.
Well, let's go into now and again, I'll just throw these out, and whoever, and I'll release all of your mics right now because I know Tamsin is here from the it's Tamsin's. That's the feedback I'm getting. Yeah, let's talk about the vision, purpose, and the 3 pillars. There's 3 strategic pillars, right? There's digital trust, the intelligence and transformation, and digital assets and economic growth. Let's break those down one by one. And it's starting pretty much with the digital trust, which we're hearing a lot around. Can someone talk us through the vision behind each pillar and how they'll shape our future? Starting with digital trust for the sake of our audience, so that they can follow along with these 3 pillars. And when I talk about digital trust, what does that actually mean?
So I see that Andre has passed it on to me for me to talk about them. So it's really important. When we were talking about, and when I had those initial conversations with the Premier, with the Minister, and we were talking about what this digital transformation task force would do and what it needed to cover, we didn't get to these pillars very lightly. It was through conversations and seeing what were the conversations that needed to be had. And from that digital transformation, that's why we split it into 3 pillars, because those 3 pillars each have an extremely important role within the task force. Digital trust, in my view, is the backbone of the task force and the strategy. Without the digital trust, we do not have the confidence to have safe information. So that digital backbone, and I know it might sound a bit harsh to say a backbone, but think about us as humans. If you rip out our backbone, what are we? Kind of a lump that can't stand.
A jellyfish.
A jellyfish. Thank you. That's exactly what we would be without our backbone. And that's exactly what digital trust is within a digital transformation. It's about making sure that the information is safe, that our rights are respected, and that the privacy is protected. And that is
which is where
important.
the Constitution comes in. So it tells me you have actually embedded or taken into consideration what the Constitution says. So for those persons who may be worried about their privacy and security online, you're actually saying this digital trust actually should allay those fears.
Correct. And the really great thing about it is that this task force, we made sure that the task force had a variety of experts, a diversity of experts in the task force. And the reason that there is a diversity of experts is because we all have our expertise, but B, we also have different perspectives of how they should be. Within the pillar of digital trust, we have Dr. Alexandra Forcell, which is a PhD in cybersecurity. So that's definitely an expert in the matter of security, privacy, how to protect us. Pillar 2 that I'm just going to jump into, actually, I'm going to leave pillar number 2 on the side for a second. I'm going to hold it because I want Tamsin to also be involved in this conversation. And I'm just going to jump quickly to the 3rd pillar, that's digital assets and economic growth. And in the digital assets and economic growth, which is going to be led by James McPhee. And the really important thing about him is that he also sees it from the financial world, but also sees the importance of those digital assets and the economic growth, not within just the financial world, but actually how it impacts us as a community and how how we have to just kind of look at it, that it's translating those real tangible assets into a digital version of them.
Break that down into layman's terms for me.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, I'm just like, oof, I've gone on the side, I've gone technical, and I didn't want to darn it.
Exactly. Break it down for me, because we have to think about how this. You actually said this is not only for the financial services, but then that also throws me into how does this benefit someone who isn't working in the financial services?
Absolutely. So it helps local businesses access the new market security, and it's all about doing everything securely, not just throwing people's information out there or receiving the information. And where is this going to be sitting? Out in the clouds? No, we need to have the guidelines to understand how that's going to be working. It's about making sure that the ownership is represented correctly, that it is stored correctly. And that's where the digital assets and the economic growth. Look at it from the tourism side of things. How can digital transformation really touch point with our tourism? We have a beautiful island, but nowadays there's a lot of more communications that are happening that are not face to face. How do we ensure that there's somebody that's not representing somebody else and saying that they are? How do we? And I see that the Premier wants to say something. Maybe we unmute him.
Yep.
Oh, there you go.
All right, if I could chime in there on digital assets and economic growth, to give a sort of real life example. So for other countries where perhaps their banking system hasn't been as advanced as, say, ours, they have now leapfrogged past that to ensure that there's technology where folks can pay for things by their phone. So if now we have now had a more sophisticated banking system, we now have to now keep up with technology. How this can be more inclusive is that there'll be other ways in which the average person can pay for things. So you can develop the technology that you can tap on your phone and go. You can develop a technology that's safer, that you don't necessarily have to rely on cash from the ATM. Get out of your car, pick your time, whether it's going to be day or night, to go to the ATM. You can now just be able to either pay by your phone. So we now have to now think about how else can we make life easier. The number of us now may use Bento to order food. That's another form of digital transformation, because I remember where, what was it called before Bento? There was an app before. There wasn't an app. You had to call and give your order. Do you remember it? Oh,
that was during lockdown. Yes.
Was it fine dining?
Fine dining, and then there was another one.
That's before the lockdown.
So now all of this now that happened with fine dining, and you had the big book and the menu, and you would flip through to get to your restaurant. Now all of this is now done on the Bento app. And you haven't taken out $1. When the driver comes to the door, you don't pull out any cash. So it's not even like Domino's. You just pay on the spot. So it's about making life easier and adapting to technologies that already exist, but now bringing those home.
There's a term that I keep hearing. There's a term that I keep hearing about tokenization. Can you explain that in layman's terms? Because as you actually get on your campaign and just informing public consultation and discussion, you'll be hearing a lot of these digital assets, tokenization terms. We want to get people familiarized with them. Can you break that down for us in layman's terms?
Go ahead, Tamsin.
Tamsin, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, so tokenization is about, tokenizing physical assets. So turning a physical asset into a digital asset. So I'm trying to think about, if you think about a property, if you tokenize a property, you can, say it's $1 million house, you can tokenize it by turning it into 10 smaller tokens, so people can buy a share of a physical asset digitally, if that makes sense. So it's turning something physical into something digital as a token that you can then purchase a smaller part of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, think of it as,
it's a digital version of a real world asset.
Yes.
A digital version of a?
real life asset.
Okay. There we
So
go.
real world assets, the digital version of that.
Did you ask ChatGPT for that terminology?
No, actually, that's the way that I have, when I started looking at tokenization, because truth be said, I've been an engineer for too many years, but obviously we, as in any profession, we need to continue to recertify and understand the new technologies that come into play and all that good stuff. And I started being very interested in blockchain and how did all of this work. And even in AI, because in AI, we constantly talk about, AI understands us, and we translate AI like if it was a human being. AI is not a human being. AI is a machine. And all that AI does is that it gets every little bit of words, it tokenizes it into little chunks, and then with a mathematical algorithm, makes it understand us. I've gone a little bit technical again. I apologize.
How I've termed it is that it's the machine learning.
Yeah.
So it has the technology to be able to adapt to your pattern. So, for example, my wife's Netflix account will look different than mine. Same account. Her profile looks different than mine. You look on hers, you see a lot of Hallmark movies. You see a lot of romantic comedies, Sleepless in Seattle. And then you go to mine, which I won't say what mine say. But my
A
Netflix
lot of
is more
high-powered
like
guns and all sorts of crap.
fighting terrorism. And so same account. But the technology has learned my profile. And every time I search for a movie, it retains that and then learns. And then feeds me a string of movies that I might now like. It does exactly the same for her because she's using a profile, feeding in romantic comedies, and then it searches for that for her. So all AI is machine learning.
Similarly with the YouTube that people use
Yes.
for music. When you search for certain types of music, after a couple of days, you'll see them start line up similar types of music for you to view, or stories, So it is all those technologies that are using that machine learning and adapting to what your choices that you're searching for are.
And this is where the future becomes exciting for our students, because there are now students that I'm aware of Caymanians who have a master's in AI. So they would then be able to start to learn how to build the computer code that creates what they call the algorithm, which is what's doing the learning.
Right.
There are now only going to be not that many people in the world that know how to do this at this stage. Very exciting for young Caymanians to get into this space, and those are the jobs of the future.
Okay. Now, Minister Rankine, I know you said that you may have to leave us a little earlier, but I know that in one of your interviews you said that a stronger, fairer Cayman means adapting to a changing world. So how does this strategy ensure that the benefits reach everyone and not just people who are already tech savvy or well connected? I don't want to.
We spoke briefly on it a bit ago, earlier in the program. It's our kids who are already in school, driving them towards this type of industry, ensuring that while AI and digital transformation may replace some jobs that people are currently doing, it will create jobs for others. And then we have to get our people ready to be able to take those jobs and fit into ensuring that we have
from the curriculum standpoint
into digital transformation.
Correct.
Whereas if we do not take the leap, just to emphasize that point and begin to adjust, then what we're concerned about is that in Caymanians, then this is where you'll hear the phrase the digital divide.
Right. Yes.
Between now, there will be other countries and their students and their children that are savvy in this, and then ours are not in the conversation and are quote unquote being left behind.
And it's similarly with other countries being so far advanced in this, if we don't step up now and do this now, what has made us successful then have trouble maintaining that success if we don't make that decision and change, fully embrace digital transformation.
And you become Blockbuster rather than Netflix.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Interesting. Now, Ms. Spratt, you mentioned that the task force pretty much has something like a 6-month timeline Yeah. What will you actually be delivering at the end of the 6 months?
So within the task force, and if you don't mind, I'm just going to take a step back because I did jump pillar 2 about the intelligence and
Oh, yes.
transformation.
Yes.
Because that is from the 3 pillars. We have the digital trust, that it's the backbone. We've got the digital assets and economic growth, that it is really how we're going to look at it from us to the world and all the economic growth that we will have, not just in the financial sector, but across the different sectors. But there's also that pillar of what we are calling intelligence and transformation. And truth be said, it was going to initially be called AI and Web3, but it is so much more than just AI. It is so much more than just Web3. It's about intelligence, it's about transformation, it's about AI working for us, not us working for the AI. And Tamsin is going to be leading that pillar. So I wanted to just give her a few seconds, if you don't mind, for her
No,
to
I don't.
No, of course.
that second
Thank you,
pillar.
Christina. Yeah, so obviously I'm leading this pillar, and we've talked a lot about this one actually. It's very much about how we can harness AI and automation and data to improve the lives of everybody in Cayman. And it sounds very pie in the sky, but that could be through lots of different things. So, we've already touched upon the education system and training not just our young people, but our current workforce in the skills that we need for the future and the new jobs. Within 5 to 10 years, all of our jobs will be completely different. Probably within 3 years, it's happening now. Everybody's using LLMs and AI tools, and automation will keep ramping up. So we really do need to be training our workforce on the skills that they need for the future. The next thing is looking at how we can create efficiencies. So how can we make government services more efficient? How can we make businesses more efficient? How can we make life better for everybody who uses these services and systems? And a lot of that is it's just data. It's using the data that we've got now and using it intelligently. So there's pockets of, ministries and government departments and private sector departments all collecting data that we can put together to see where we need to be going in the future. So if you think about things like unemployment, we have work who have data. We have UCCI and ICCI that have data. We have lots of different functions that hold data about where people are graduating, where there's skills gaps. AI can help to plug that by using the data and showing us what we need to do. And that's kind of on a national level how we can make a huge impact with it. And then on a smaller level, it's about helping people understand how AI can benefit them. The small businesses, how can they utilize it? How can it make their lives better? And putting in some governance. So, people need to understand not just what they can use, but how they can use it.
Right.
So it's a national responsibility to make people understand how it can be used responsibly and put that policy in place. So it's a broad pillar, but there's lots of opportunity.
Because, a lot of people hear artificial intelligence and either get excited or very, very nervous. A lot of people are now hearing on a lot of social media platforms how you got warehouses being really huge warehouses just really being run by one person because it's been all controlled now by AI. And, you get from one extreme to the next.
So there's some really interesting points in that. Without a doubt, AI is going to take away some jobs. It is. But every new technology and every industrial revolution has taken away jobs. There used to be people whose job it was to stand in an elevator and press buttons. They don't do that anymore. They used to function the elevator for people. When it became automated, that job became non-existent. The same will happen with AI. And actually, if you look about it, if you look at the jobs it's changing now, it tends to be the jobs that have a high churn rate, that it's hard to fill. And it happened really in COVID. COVID was the big driver for digital transformation because we had no option. So when people couldn't go into work and services had to keep running, everything became automated. We looked for a new way to do things. The really important thing is all the research out there shows that more jobs will be created than will be lost. They will just be in different areas. So we might lose 100 people who are doing, let's say, a conveyor belt automation type task, but then we might gain 100 people at a higher level skill set. So as long as we can train the people in that skill set, the job should still be there and in more abundance.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Go ahead, Premier.
Sabrina, I just want to give Minister Rankin an opportunity for some closing comments because you are going to Harkwell Theater now.
Yes.
You go sing to her,
older person's talent night. But Sabrina,
you don't meet the definition of older person yet.
But I still do that talent.
But you'll still do the talent.
But Sabrina, if you can just think from very basic things, how digital transformation affected us here in Cayman in some way, shape, or form. You're probably not old enough to remember this, but remember when you had the phones on the table and you had to do this?
The rotary one.
Right? And then you move from that one to the ones that you just push the buttons.
The digit, yeah.
Then we move from that to a one that you could walk around the room with. Remember all that? And then we move to mobile phones.
The block,
and then
the fridge.
Different iterations of the mobile phone technology to what we're actually using today.
Don't forget the beepers. I had a beeper.
The pagers.
So if you look at how the technology has advanced and how the digital transformation is taking place, especially now what we call our smartphones, we do every single thing from it. I can't think of one young person right now that if they lose their smartphones, they don't go crazy. Because why? It's what they use to get around and do every single thing. It's a part of their life. It's a part of their daily activities. So when we think about just that basic form of digital transformation coming from then to now, you can see how it benefits us and how in terms of telecoms, again, you're using copper, now using fiber, get better services, but it drives the efficiency of our country, drives efficiency of the private sector and the government as well.
Minister Rankin, before you go, I have a question that came in. Minister Rankin, does the task force have a power to make binding decisions or only to advise? And if they advise, who ensures their advice doesn't go unchecked?
Well, they will be making recommendations, and then it's us within the government and the caucus and the cabinet to be taking on board those recommendations.
Okay. All right.
And as an extension to that point, the recommendation could be to amend or adjust a law. That then would still then have public consultation per the Constitution, but there's still public input.
Premier, there's a question for you as well. What limits are placed on the task force authority to collect, ignite, integrate, and share citizens' data?
So the task force isn't involved in any of that. The task force is essentially a working group that is looking at these three pillars, understanding what is the landscape in these areas, getting feedback from stakeholders, and then providing government with suggestions of how either to advance in a particular way, should the government wish to do so, or whether to put in some risk mitigation, meaning, or to put it in layperson's terms, whether or not there needs to be regulations in place to help protect certain areas. The task force isn't empowered as an authoritative body, it's a working group.
So who is the task force accountable? Is it Parliament, Cabinet, or the people?
So the task force is being set up under the Minister for Innovation, who's appointed them per the Constitution, where a minister can set up committees. Then the report of that committee is then shared with caucus and then cabinet.
Okay. Final question from this person. Will we be getting a digital currency?
That's not part of the task force's job right now. It may be something that they take a look at, but there are far more immediate concerns. The far more immediate concerns that are in our sights is how should the curriculum change? What virtual assets should SEMA be looking at now that are getting applications right now in the virtual asset space? The country having a digital currency is a different conversation. It may come up and other people may feed it in, just as that person has raised the question, might take stakeholder feedback, but I can't see that as being a short-term goal.
Okay. I hope that answers those questions. Minister Rankin, I know you have to go. If you parting words.
Well, I'm excited to see the task force in action, and excited to also receive the recommendations at the end of 6 months. It's an exciting time for us because we need to evolve and embrace digital transformation in its entirety. We can't do it piecemeal. We have to do it in its entirety to ensure that we are not left behind in our, especially in the financial service industry. We cannot be left behind. We have no choice. We have to move forward.
So you're expecting a feedback with the recommendations from this task force in 6 months, which went into that question before we covered the second pillar. And pretty much, yeah, I'm glad that you actually said that, because you're waiting on this 6 months as well. So are the people. And but I'll allow Ms. Spratt, if you're done, to answer that question. But thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here. Hope it will not be the last. Enjoy your evening.
It won't be the last, and we still have to catch up.
Of course, we do. Take care, my brother. Ms. Spratt, yeah, you mentioned the task force, and you heard the Honourable Minister, who's responsible, mention the task force, has a 6-month timeline. In regards to that, what will you actually be delivering at the end of the 6 months? What can he expect?
So it's really important that we're being ambitious with the timeline of 6 months, and we are all on the same page that it is an ambitious target. But we are also very conscious that the longer that we take, the longer that these recommendations are going to go to the table, the longer it's going to take for it to move along, right? Mm-hmm. So this is why we are saying we're not going to take more than 6 months. The task force is going to provide a blueprint. It's going to provide the roadmap of the things that we have identified that should be put in place in one way or another, with the risks and the benefits of what needs to happen for this digital transformation to move along within those 3 pillars successfully. So that is really what we're going to be delivering in those 6 months. It is a clear guiding blueprint, nothing else. We're not going to be doing policy or legislation or changing laws.
And maybe to add to that, yes, I heard 1 or 2 people make a comment to say, well, the country can't wait 6 months. This is happening so fast. Let's put this into context. Again, this is already occurring in the country. The task force isn't preventing something from happening, and it's not accelerating anything from happening. This is already occurring. So there are government departments already utilizing AI. There are already statutory authorities utilizing AI. There are private sector firms already utilizing AI. What this is bringing this up from that level to a national level to say, how should the country operate in this new space? What's appropriate technology should be used in government? If one department is using a particular AI tool, but another department is using else that maybe is deemed more risky,
right?
What should be the policy across the board? So this isn't slowing anything down and saying the country can't use this until the task force is done. No, this is already occurring. The question is, how do we get it more uniformed rather than a scattered approach?
Okay. So what does success look like for this task force in, let's say, 1 to 5 years and beyond then? I'm hearing all the great things, but what would you consider success looking like for this task force, or will it just fall away?
It shouldn't fall away. Let's do this in 2 parts, and let's have some fun. Maybe, Christine, as chair, you can describe what is it you plan to deliver that will land on the minister's desk and that he will bring to caucus. And then I can then jump on that to say whether or not I think that cuts the mustard or I was expecting more.
One of the things that we're thinking of, or?
No, at the end, because you have a project timeline, at the end, what is the deliverable to the minister?
So in other words, it goes back to the question, what does success look for the task force in a year to 5 years and beyond? Or do you guys just fall away after the recommendation?
So in my view, the task force is going to be creating a blueprint. And I keep on going back to the blueprint because that's what it is. It is pretty much a base plan of the things that we should be considering as a country, not just for government, not just for the public sector, but also for the private sector, and for the people in Cayman, keeping in mind Caymanian values, how Cayman is going to adapt to this digital transformation. What are the things that should we be considering? Should it be okay that and I'm just going to give an example. Should it be okay that any business can use AI however they want and store the information wherever they want, and not allow the customer, and may or may not allow the customer to know if they're storing their information or not? The guideline most likely is going to be, there should be a guiding principle of how AI is collecting information. There should be a guiding principle of how the consumer needs to understand this. So those guiding principles, that blueprint, is what we are going to be delivering to the Cayman Islands government. How are we going to be collecting that? We have 9 brilliant minds in the task force, that we are not just getting this information on our own and from the different perspectives that we're doing it. We are actually gathering information as well from the different private sectors. We're going to be using nonprofits. And I say using, but it's really the collaboration of them to get all this information of what do they see that they need to be more successful. We're also going to be talking to the public with different organizations. So you're going to be seeing us a lot out there between November, December, and January gathering this information. So that's really the timelines that you're going to be seeing us out there. Right now, we're putting together the baseline of what does this success look like, and how we're going to measure this success. The next 3 months is going to be about having those conversations, those really nitty-gritty conversations of what is it that we need to put in place. And then in the last month and a half, it's going to be more than anything of gathering all these insights and putting together that blueprint and saying, Mr. Government, this is what we have found that is needed. What does it look like in 1 year, and how do I would measure that if this was successful or not, that we see that there is movement on and again, that movement already started.
Like a buy-in.
Yeah. Is that buy-in? Do people feel comfortable with what is moving forward? Do we have the right conversations of, do we have guidelines? Do we have laws? Do we have things that protect us as Caymanian people in the digital transformation world? And if I go even far after that, in 5 years from now, I would be very happy if I sit down at home and I feel safe in a digital environment while I'm in Cayman, that I am seeing proper innovation and employment, conversations of employment within the AI world. And that for me is really important. And an example that I use of that as well is when computers came out. What happened with the first companies that had computers? They stuck them in a corner because the computers were going to take the jobs of the people, and people didn't want to use them because they were going to take the jobs. Nowadays, I think that we all have computers. We all have computer in our hands with our phones and our smartphones. So in 5 years from now, we want to make sure that all this digital transformation, all of these new pathways are really bringing our people on the forefront of technology.
Premier, you wanted to add on to that before we take the call. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I saw Tamsin had her hand up. Go ahead, Tamsin.
I just wanted to add, just to give people confidence, that one of the first task force meeting we had, the Honourable Premier actually said to us all, when you create this blueprint, the aim is for it to be used. We know that the community has some reservations, that there's been task forces in the past, and the outputs and the outcomes haven't come to anything. And it was a very clear directive from the beginning that there was a purpose behind this. We didn't want another piece of paper that sat on a desk. There were going to be actionable outcomes, and the government was prepared to do that. Now, we're under no illusion that 100% of recommendations will be implemented, and probably nor should they. They are recommendations that need to be scrutinised further by more bodies. But even if 50% of them or 20% of them are actioned, then it makes life better for Caymanians and everybody in Cayman, then it's been a success. And I think that's what we all hope for. And everybody is on that track. There's a very clear directive.
Thank you for that. Premier, before we take the call.
Nope.
Or
Go
you
ahead,
want me
let's
to-
take the call.
Okay, good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Good evening, Sabrina.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Premier, Miss Spratt, Miss Thompson. How are you?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Go ahead.
I have a few questions. Because as I'm listening, I'm hearing Miss Spratt talk about a blueprint, right? And Miss Spratt, if a blueprint isn't binding, who takes responsibility when the government adopts your recommendations and something goes wrong?
So I'll take that.
Okay.
So say this would happen in any working group. So if there's a working group around the changes to health legislation, if there's a working group around trade and business legislation that comes and makes recommendations to government, this happens all the time. Government then has to then take those recommendations, particularly where they involve legislation, and take those to the public for consultation, and then decide whether or not it's something that is feasible and can be operated. Once the legislation comes over the line, meaning passed by Parliament, then it will have the monitors and safeguards and checks in place. So there are laws in place that govern how we drive. The fact that there are accidents that occur on the roads means that government then has to take other actions, whether that's enforcement through the police, to monitor and regulate the behavior. But that doesn't stop the progress of a policy in place when cars became on the road.
Does that answer your question, caller?
Somewhat. But in listening to Mr. Premier speak, I'm thinking of, technology is something that evolves really quickly. And laws and regulations, they usually lag behind simply because of that. Just the nature of democracy, you have to meet with people, you have to draft, you have to test. One of my concerns is, how will laws keep up with the technology as we move toward this digital transformation?
Well, that's always going to be a challenge in all industries, where regulators around the world try to keep up as best as they can because the technology moves faster and it's moving even at a faster pace. But I don't think the answer to that is that we do nothing. We still have to try to keep up as best as we can, recognizing, but this is where, and this kind of answers the question, AI can be used to help. Because before it might have taken a very long time to draft a piece of legislation. This is where we're going to be able to maximize the technology and turn it on its head and use it for the good in public services to try to keep up as best as we can.
Caller?
So I'm liking what I'm hearing from Mr. Premier. So to give you an example of what I mean by laws not keeping up, right? There was a case some time ago. I remember watching on an international news channel. They were talking about, and I'm just putting a trigger warning out there about what I'm about to speak about. There was a talk about a girl who he was involved in these in this virtual reality. I think it was either Facebook's virtual playground. I'm not quite familiar with like the games that they can play online, and it's one of those virtual games where people you can meet people potentially from all over the world. And why this became newsworthy was because the girl was quote unquote digitally raped. So no details as to what that entailed. And I remember listening to the story and thinking, when the anchor was mentioning, what does that even mean in the eyes of the law? Because rape has a very specific definition in the law. How, and then with those people being, I mean, we don't know who the people were. We don't know what countries they're coming from. And this girl experience being I don't know, according to the anchor, sexually abused digitally, how do, like in a situation like that, how do I guess my larger question I'm asking, does the task force, will the task force be looking at, you know, these different scenarios, and maybe not everything, but how do we update the law so that, you know, digital crimes and that kind of thing, using AI and using
For where we're going with the digital space, that our laws are there to protect the people so that we won't
right.
fall victim to stuff like that?
Right. Well, I'm just using that as an example of, you know, because the law hasn't kept up with the pace of technology. I mean, what does that even mean? Digital rape. Was a crime committed if it happened virtually in a virtual game? If there is no law for it, there is no crime, correct?
So this is exactly
So
why this is exactly why the task force has to get started, because you're not going to be able, we as a country won't be able to unpick those types of scenarios until we start looking in earnest.
Mm-hmm.
So can we
Right
say
now, there's
today that
nothing.
right now there's nothing? So can we here say today that we can cover everything? No. This is why we have to start in earnest. However, there are some head starts. So a region in the world that has, and I'm not saying this is perfect, but I'm saying it's more advanced in the world that has begun to look at this space and actually produce policy and legislation is the EU.
Mm-hmm.
There's an EU AI policy and law. So the
Mhm.
task force doesn't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. They can look at other regions in the world that have started to set a standard and see what might be appropriate and tailored to Cayman. So yes, the call is absolutely right. It's a brave new world, and there'll be things to think about. Let's take back a second. It's going to sound like a very humorous example in this day and age, but there was a time where my grandmother refused to use a microwave.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely refused. She only would use an oven. She was
Mhm.
afraid of the microwave energy. Times will move on, things will keep up. There probably wasn't legislation on the books to govern the microwave.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, even though we are the generation now grappling with this new technology, as she was grappling with a microwave, we will continue to thrive and survive.
Does that conclude your questions, caller?
I think it does. I just want to say I think it's an excellent idea to have a task force to advise the government so that they can you know, do the research. Good job, guys, and thank you guys for coming on Sabrina's show and sharing with us.
And thank you for your contribution.
And a very good contribution.
Yes, always. Thank you so much.
And I just wanted to add one thing, because I have to say the Premier stole my idea there, and I was just like, I was going to use that. And it is, we're not, you know, yes, we're keeping the Cayman values in mind, but there's already a lot out there.
Mhm.
We're looking at and going back to the EU AI Act. The
Mhm.
EU AI Act is the first attempt worldwide to have a legal framework around AI, where there is penalties and there is fees to be paid if those laws are not followed.
Mhm.
And those laws are actually focused on the development of AI, the deployment of AI, and the use of AI. So it's quite complete and complex. And I do have to admire that they took that first step. If you
Right.
look at it from the US side, the US has taken a different approach. The US has taken the approach of these are the guidelines. There's no real law around it. It's more about these are the guidelines. And they have their reasons of why they're using a guideline and not a law.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the recommendations and the blueprints that we're going to bring over and say, this is what we're seeing in the world.
Okay.
And I
Tams-
think that Camden wants to complement that as well.
Tamsin, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you've said everything on that point. I think the caller was asking some questions about, are we going to get down into specifics? And I think it's really important to say, the task force won't be looking at every specific example of every law that might come out that we need to. What we might be recommending is laws have to change a lot more frequently because things pop up a lot more frequently. And I guess that's the level that we're going to be working at. We are aware that the AI especially changes the world very, very fast. And I think everyone has to realize that globally, nobody can stay on top of it because it changes daily. I listen to podcasts every morning about it, and so much has happened in 24 hours. There's legal cases popping up everywhere. It's impossible to be ahead of it. What we can do is follow it as closely as we can, and that's what we will be recommending. That you know, sorry, my printer's just decided to suddenly go mad at the side of me. And we will be, you know, recommending that policy and legal frameworks are looked at and changed frequently.
That AI taking over your printer?
Sorry, maybe it's time to stop talking.
Tamsin, I'm not deliberately muting you because I constantly get a feedback and I'm getting people commenting. So that's why I mute you. So, but whenever you want to speak, just unmute yourself. But let's go into this other segment now in addressing public concerns, because it's amazing how this conversation is actually going. And in this segment, I would like for us to address the fears around surveillance, understanding, Spratt, that you're saying, okay, let's picture building a house. You're doing the blueprint. You're drawing the plans. The government fed you the information. They looked around at where we're going in the digital age, and you're tasked with building, with drawing the blueprint, right? Let's discuss some of the myths and facts, but we will take this call. And Premier, you mentioned that Cayman needs to embrace technology advancements responsibly. I'm going to throw it out there. I want to get, what does that responsibly mean in this context for what we're talking about? Because there's still a lot of misconceptions out there. But before you dig into that, good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Well, I'd actually like to hear the answer to that question.
So you're going to go mute for a second? Okay, well, just hang on there. Go ahead, Premier. He wants to find out, what does responsibility mean in this context? Because you mentioned that Cayman needs to embrace technology advancement responsibly.
I think it's what would just be a reiteration of what we've already said. Responsibly means having articulated a policy position and a statutory framework to help as best as we can, as Tamsin just made the point, to try to keep up as best as we can and have a framework and a set of guardrails to maximize the benefits and hopefully minimize the risk.
Okay, which it hopes that'll curtail any fears that people have around surveillance, control, and cultural erosion, pretty much. Right, Tamsin?
Yeah, and I mean, responsible AI is different depending on if you're looking at it from a national level or a organizational level, or, you know, people need to think about responsible AI as people as well as nationally. Now, obviously, we'll be looking at the national element, but one of the recommendations will be we have to educate people on responsible AI personally, and what that means to them, how they use their data, how they, you know, where they put their data, how transparent they are, how they use AI tools. So it means different things depending on what context. And I think from a task force point of view, we'll be looking at the national level, but we will definitely make recommendations on a more local level, on a level that's more pertinent to the individual.
Yeah, because, you know, some people fear that digital transformation means government controls our personal lives. But what would you say to persons, Premier? What would you say to them in that context?
I'd bring it back to your question at the top of the show. This is already occurring. So businesses are using AI. Students are using AI. Citizens are using AI. So that's already happening. What we're trying to do is create a framework that makes it a bit more uniform of the good do's and the not so great don'ts.
Okay, thank you so much. Caller, what's on your mind?
The do's and don'ts. So if I remember correctly, the Premier group that parted company with in the previous government on the basis of principle. And the reason this is important is because if you're having guidelines that's set by ministers of government who act for various reasons, not just in the interests of the country, but it could be selfish political reasons. Policies could be set for the wrong reasons. And, you guys walking away from the previous government is an example of a disagreement about policy. And so when it comes to protecting people, conceptually, what is required is human rights protections. Because one could argue that the current premier might not act in a tyrannical way, but what happens with the next premier who doesn't share his morals, his ethics about what ought to be done?
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, how do we have, what kind of mechanisms can we have that, let's just say, a certain long-term member of MP can't just get up and decide that he's going to do something that's not in the best interest of the public? Like, what mechanisms are you considering that needs to be done? Because in my mind, a policy that's not a law gives me zero comfort, right? I'll give you an example. What the Public Service Management Law in Section 5 requires MPs to act morally. Has that helped? So the laws get ignored by governments all the time. And so what I'm saying is, what mechanism are you going to have in place that will protect the public from the abuses of the selfish ambitions of MPs?
Okay. Who wants to take that question?
I have more to ask, but that's one question.
So I see that as a matter that would permeate no matter what subject we were talking about today,
Okay.
AI or otherwise.
That
correct. Could be in relation to health. It could be in relation to business. It could be in relation to education. And one of the matters that I think has been overdue, and the caller knows that I've been discussing this for a while, is an enforceable parliamentary code of conduct, whereby the arbiters of that code of conduct are not the parliamentarians themselves, but say the likes of, say, the Standards and Public Life Commission, that would then hold to account where there's a breach of that conduct, irrespective of the subject area.
Well, you would need to get the country's consent on that. It couldn't be at their discretion because they're appointed by the very same people who would be perpetrating the act.
Sorry, I didn't quite follow.
Okay, so when you have a committee or whatever that's established by government, you can't have that committee making recommendations to look out for their buddies who appointed them to the committee in the first place. In other words, the sovereignty of individuals at large as members of the or say the Caymanian segment of this society must be the ones who consent to those standards. Otherwise, it's just a buddy looking out for a buddy.
So if I think I followed the question, if we're promulgating a parliamentary code of conduct, and this would be done in this case, at least the plan in this case is to be done by the existing speaker, as to whether or not there'd be any form of consultation on the code of conduct to see that it met with public approval as a sturdy document.
That would have to be a requirement.
That's a statement?
Yeah, that would have to be a requirement. It can't be that people who are appointed by MPs are the one, because you have to, if I was to just use the common language that people use on the street, is you would be appointing your friend to make a decision about how you should behave. That's not exactly how I would think it should be done. I mean, just think about the Bill of Rights and as it exists in the Constitution. We can't have a referendum on a human right issue. Think about what that means. That means that there's a group of people somewhere who feel that we shouldn't have any say in what our rights are at all. We can tell you what we think, but we can't vote to say, yeah, we agree that this should be our right.
And how are we tying this into this task force that we're talking about today, caller?
Because you need a human right provision to protect you from the abuses of government.
Okay, so this is notes for the task force to take in unless they actually want to counter that suggestion. Christine? No?
I don't think, to my mind, human rights is something that is pervasive throughout the society and governs by being firmly in the Constitution. So the task force, even if it were to wildly go off the rails and produce a document that advised to go against the Constitution is there. The elected arm then is going to bring forward constitutionally compliant provisions. So I understand the caller's point, but I don't know that it isn't already answered by the existing framework that we have within the Constitution.
Well, you remember me raising an issue with you recently that the parliamentary committee needs to address about the behavior of a civil servant and how that civil servant has a constitutional obligation to do something. And as the supervisor of that civil servant, the parliamentary committee needs to review her actions. And so it's been quite a while where nothing has been done about it. And so my question to you would be, if on things where the Constitution says that civil servants shall do something, I don't see how this language could be any stronger. It's not you might or you could answer if you want, you shall answer. If that is being ignored right now, tell me why I should have confidence that you'll respect any other provision of the Constitution.
So is that directed to me personally, or is that just a general question?
To you, because you're the political layer. They
right,
just make recommendations to you.
Right. All right. So I don't want the public to get lost in the conversation because there's two different things happening here.
Yeah, Danny, I know you're fluid, and I know it can tie in, but for the sake of what we wanted, because this could possibly be an additional segment of the Sabrina Speaks, but we wanted to familiarize in this episode of exactly what the mission, the purpose, the vision, the three pillars, exactly how this ties in of this task force. So I know it is very engaging, very informative, but sometimes we can go to sixth form and we're still in first grade. Right. And I don't want to lose it because we can lose the gist of, again, we're maturing before we're ready to even understand the language.
Correct. And not only that, Sabrina, the issue raised about the governing of civil servants, as you know, as a former minister, is outside of the elected arm's hands. Right. I can follow up. I can suggest to the powers that be. That's different and wholly out of the world of what we're talking about in terms of a working group looking at a new subject area and saying, government, you may want to look at this, you may want to look at that.
Not to say that your points are not valid and that they won't
very
eventually
valid,
fit in. They are, Danny, but for the sake of just keeping it flowing so that we don't miss the opportunity, because that's why we're having this forum right now, because of community engagement, inclusion, how we can turn our focus on to persons given their points of view, things to consider. That's what this space is about. But right now you're talking sixth form and we're trying to get through first grade.
Well, my question is just very simple. My question, or what I'm saying, is that in order to protect the public from the abuses of anything. What we're simply talking about is a human right provision. I mean, that's not that complicated.
No, it isn't. But
if you have the right of freedom of expression, that's a human right provision. And so the question is, what considerations will the committee have in regards to human rights? Because you see, what the committee is recommending is guidelines that are not law.
Right.
Which is, that's woefully inadequate to protect the right of individuals from the abuses of the state.
Understood. So now this may be another layer, Premier, that you guys could be considering or consider if it aligns with the mission of this mandate and directive given to this task force.
Sure. But I just wanted to clarify to the listening public that it's not that the task force is woefully inadequate. That's not their job.
Right.
So they're not being woefully inadequate. Their job, just like any other working group. I know it's not what you said, but it could be taken that way. So just for clarity.
I just want to make it clear that I'm not saying that about the group.
Yeah, no, I know. And I got that. But I'm not sure it would have been clear to everybody else.
No, but the recommendation that you make guidelines instead of a law, and that we should rely on those guidelines that are not a law in order to protect us, that is dangerous. I'm not commenting on the committee itself. I'm just talking about the idea of that it be guidelines by those who are in power. So I'm not commenting on them at all. And by the way, I'm not opposed to being able to do things digitally. Not at all. And there are people who might even have the impression, believe that, oh, well, I'm just fearful of this because I don't understand. I can tell you very clearly, I have a deep understanding of this conversation. And so it's not that I'm afraid of change. It's that I understand that what we need to consider is managing the risks properly so that we can have the best use of technology. But in order to do that, you have to address the risks properly.
Okay.
And that aligns perfectly with the entire show from the top to now. Agreed. Thank you, caller.
Thank you so much. Can you leave us there? Thanks as usual for your contribution. Leave us there for now.
Well, there are other things I wanted to ask about.
Okay, are they just straight up questions? Because it's 6:57.
Just straight up a question.
Okay.
The show is entitled Truth, Trust, and Technology. Can't remember the name of the hack recently, but what the victims were looking at on their screens, they thought was the truth, but it was actually a lie, and that was the hack. So, which causes me to raise this issue. Client-side scanning. I'm not going to get into the details, but it is a risk that has to be addressed. And the reason why it's being raised, unfortunately, is by politicians who think that somehow you can just use technology to get around the safeguards of encryption, and as a result, making us more vulnerable. Client-side scanning is something that government want to do, which is dangerous. It is not going to result in trust because you're opening up unencrypted data to people outside of the encrypted stream. And that will undermine your efforts if you don't take it into consideration. I'm not going to debate it right now, but I'm going to raise it because it is a really controversial issue. Unfortunately, powerful politicians in the world want it done, and I think it's a very foolish thing they're trying to do.
Okay, thank you for raising it. And that's exactly the
Thank you,
stage.
Colin.
That's the stage we're at now, is to raise issues and bring them forward for consideration.
Mm-hmm. There we go. Tamsin, anybody wants to weigh in on anything there, or are we just moving on?
I think I have anything to add.
Okay. Yep. All right, let's go into how can persons actually be included. Just looking at, we're looking at the task force members, and clearly there are a lot of expertise. Ms. Spratt, Christina, you have shared that yourself. How do you ensure that then from this, how can people get involved? How can they feel a part of this? How can they get in contact with you? And especially those inclusions, how can we ensure that our seniors, youth, and, those underdeserved communities even aren't left behind as we do this blueprint?
Yeah, so right now we're actually looking at all the different ways that we want to reach out to the community. And it's not just the business community, it's also our youth, our elders, across the board. Everyone that wants to give feedback, we're going to be open to do that. I'm saying we're going to be looking at this between November, December, and January. So I would say keep your eyes open. There is going to be communications being sent out, but it might not be directly from the task force, but it will be from associations. It will be from specific community groups. It will be from nonprofits. Example of that, the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce, we're working with them to see how we can engage the business community on that side. The Premier mentioned the youth robotics group. We want to hear from the youth as well. And I know as well that within our group, there has been people that have been getting lots of feedback, also from our elderly people that are not that comfortable with technology, and we want to ensure that they are part of the journey, because digital transformation is not just for some people, it's for everybody. And I see that Tamsin wants to add something.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean,
Go ahead, Tamsin.
I think you hit the nail on the head at the end. We're not doing this for us. We're doing this nationally for every single person who lives here. And digital transformation only works if everybody is bought in, if culturally people understand why it's happening and they are behind it. And that's the only way it's ever going to work on a national scale. There was a statistic released recently that 85% of AI projects fail currently. It's not because of the technology, it's because of the people. It's because the people who are using the tool don't believe in it, or aren't trained in it, or aren't educated. They don't understand why they're using it. So that's our biggest thing. It's educating the whole community, from everybody in East End to West Bay to people who've never even opened a laptop. It's making everybody understand why it's going to benefit them, and bringing them along and letting them lead it. We might be the people writing the blueprint, but we're being led by the community.
I had a question that asks, what does this, oh, there we go, Tamsin. Let me call you. I had a question that came up. What does their blueprint look like, especially when you talk about this updated curriculum, and where can they see these blueprint? You're just in the building block stages now, am I correct? So there's nothing to be seen at this time. You're more collecting the data and all that sort of stuff. So I'm assuming from this, there'll be more public forums, maybe workshops, so that people can understand, engage, and get their feedback, right? So pretty much keep it locked to this space. If there's, and people, how can they get information to you, or even know where these workshops will be had? I mean, once we know, we will be sharing it, but it's part of that inclusion. It's a part of, we're starting the conversation, but how do you build it is what I'm getting. How are you building it?
Sorry, Tam. Sure.
Sorry, I can. I mean, I'm sure, like you said, we're at the very early stages, and this will pervade every aspect of the community. I'm sure the government communications team will be very hot off the press with, launching focus groups or any input that we need from people. And more news will be announced shortly on how people can, get in contact and get involved. But the main thing to know is that this won't be done secretly. Everything is completely transparent. This is for the people, and the people, we need everybody to be involved to make it work. So watch this space, I guess, is the main message.
Let me just mute you there. Let me read. Go ahead. Your mic is okay, Premier. Go ahead. It's just whatever's happening with Tamsin.
Okay, I just was mindful of the time at 7, and I've got another engagement, so I was going to offer some closing comments so that we can wrap tonight.
Sure, but just allow me to read some comments, please, for the sake of those, just in case you want to weigh in on it. I might have missed it, but does this task force have generational Caymanians directly involved in the key aspects of all things AI? Cayman Islands centric as opposed to primary foreigners?
Sure. How about we read the names of the task force?
Go ahead.
So, Jeff Goddard, Caitlin Ethelstone, Jason Nareer, Dr. Alexandra Forcell, Lucy Frew, Tamsin, who's on with us, Lucia Gallardo, and James McPhee. It has a mix of individuals of multi-generational Caymanians, newer Caymanians, and residents. Mm-hmm. Now, the task force isn't the end-all, be-all. It's a steering group. Mm-hmm. The secretariat of the task force is Minister Rankine's innovation ministry that sits there to collect up comments, monitor the task force. The task force then, for each of the pillars, breaks down and has a subgroup and goes out into the community. So this is very early stage. The task force is, again, we could use another word, a steering group. To get information, get ideas, create subcommittees, and bring forward a general roadmap of how government should be thinking about this space and the framework to put in place. The overall thrust of this, if you were to ask me in a nutshell, because this is occurring anyhow, the government isn't introducing anything new, which is why I said that the last caller had it right. That issues that he was raising that could be applied to basically any subject areas, that this one is newer, is that he understood that I'm not afraid of the technology. I know that it's happening and government has to get its arms around it. It's what guardrails are put in place for various scenarios to guard against abuse. That's where we're at. But we have to take the step to study and analyze because it's happening. We do not want to have a situation, which is what Minister Rankine was talking about from an innovation standpoint and also a social development standpoint, of what happens to our young people if we do not make adjustments for them to advance, and then their peers in other countries when they go to university are further ahead. We do not want to fall behind for something that is already occurring around us until I think the very first caller's comment at an increasingly rapid pace. Cayman has to be able to keep up. So I'm excited about the opportunity. There's a range of other topics for us to get into. I want to come back, Sabrina, away from digital transformation. There's budget, there's new legislation, future of financial services. This is an initiative that I think is needed.
Right. It's all about education. Like my whole line here is we're elevating talk. But before you go, I'd like to get and this could throw out to all of you. What is one thing that you would want every Caymanian to know about this whole strategy, what we're trying to do, data collection, to be a part of this new chapter as we evolve as a space and keeping it real with where we're headed?
I've given the sort of overview from perhaps the government level of not making sure that our folks are not left behind.
Correct.
That would be my contribution to that question. I'll invite comments from Christina and Tamsin.
Go ahead. Tamsin.
You've unmuted me, have you? Thank you. So, I've got a few things that I really want to see out of this. For me, obviously, my background is workforce strategy and education, and I want to see that everybody in Cayman has the opportunity to get the skills they need for the future. I want to see that it's fully inclusive and that, You know, we have a big digital divide here at the moment, that we have a lot of people without higher level digital skills, but also a lot of people without lower level digital skills. And I want to see that everybody gets equal opportunity to learn. And that's one of the great things about AI. It democratizes education. It makes things possible for people that they would never have been able to do previously.
Right.
So, you know, for me, I want this to be equitable. I want people have everybody to have the chance to learn, not dependent on where they live or what level of education they've got now or how much money they've got. It has to be for everybody. And I want our country to be globally competitive, even more than we are now. I want us to continue thriving. So they're my big drivers out of this, really. And I think that, you know, we have the right people there to make this happen.
Okay. Thank you so much for your contribution, Tamsin. And Ms. Spratt, you were the chair. Oh my gosh. Task for the 6 months. The clock is ticking.
The clock is ticking. It started ticking a couple of weeks ago, and we are actively working. And I did want to highlight a few things. One of them is we made sure that the task force is diverse, and diversity doesn't happen out of magic or coincidence. It happens out of a purpose of wanting it to be diverse, covering not just multiple expertise, but also variety of individuals from our community and different perspectives. So that is something that it was in the heart of putting together this task force that diversity was going to be there, and it is. I'm happy to say that diversity is there. And not only that, but then when we're looking at digital transformation, what we have to think about, and I always say, I'm going to use AI as the example, but this is not just for AI, for anything that's digital transformation. We have to make sure that these tools and this technology works for us, not that we are working for it. AI is to enhance us as a tool that we need to use. So our critical thinking needs to be above everything that we're doing. If you're using any technology nowadays, and that technology is taking away your thinking, and because you're just believing exactly everything that it's saying, then we have to take a step back as an individual and say, hold on a second, is this the digital transformation that I want for myself?
Right.
So it really is important that we think every time that we're using AI, is it working for me, or am I working for it?
Right.
And that is kind of one of the objectives and the focuses that we have within the task force. We want to bring forward all of these different ideas and guiding principles of what we should be considering as a community.
So Sabrina, before we go, I was just curious.
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you used an AI tool yet?
All the time.
Yeah, what do you use?
I use everything thanks to Sandra and making me work harder. I use Chat GTP, anything that I can. And I actually went online to do a 6-week course to help me with the lighting and all of that sort of stuff. And all of those are AI tools. And to tell me this, Premier, let's say even 8 months ago, I'd be like, what are you talking about? I'll hire somebody to do that. But it has made this new chapter of my life much easier. It has opened me up to so much more. Being able to sit here, poised, control, I'm more embracing of it and not scared. But even just being my own tech person, many times, if I didn't open myself up to it, I would be in problems here just doing this live broadcast, because this is live. Everything is happening in real time. And I thank AI. I laughed today because I was doing my utility bill. And before it would online, before it allowed me to just hit send, it asked me if I was a human. Now, there you go. That's weird. You know, I'm telling a robot that I'm a human to pay my bill. And, you know, it is funny as heck, but I because I'm no longer in a vacuum, I have allowed myself to widen. I smile at it, but this is where we're going, you know? So yeah, I use a number of them to help me work smarter and not harder, to be honest.
And I didn't know that. We haven't had that particular conversation. I just asked that out of genuine curiosity. But
it has helped me. It has helped me a lot. Yeah.
And I must say before we go that there are a number of people that I've spoken to since we have had the press release on the Digital Transformation Task Force who had the same comment as you. This has been 6 months, this has been 9 months, and it's completely changed my life, made me faster, made me more efficient. But they can see that there are risks. So God bless you, Sabrina. I hope to come back with other topics. There's plenty to unpick and unpack before the end of the year. But thank you. It's good to see you. You seem like you're thriving on the show. I'll come back and we'll do some more topics.
Numbers matter. Thank you so much for that. And I'm hoping that you will not be a stranger here, and that's to anybody. We are here, and you can see how it's managed. You can see the level of dialogue that we have. It's all information, it's to the point. And that's what we aim to do here on Sabrina Speaks. Our numbers don't lie.
God bless you, and may God continue to bless these Cayman Islands. Oh, and before I forget, continue to watch the weather. There is a system there. It's a little bit difficult to pinpoint, but just remember, we're not out of hurricane season yet. No need to panic. Just take stock of where your preparedness level is as we ride out the rest of the season.
That's correct. So fitting. Thank you so much, Honorable Premier. Thank you so much for being with us. And to Christina, to Tamsin, to the Honorable Isaac, thank you all for giving us your time this evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So much. Pleasure. And there you have it. Just like that, we've reached the end yet again of a powerful conversation, one rooted in vision, purpose, and hopefully possibility. But that depends on you. Now, we've heard from our leaders who are not only shaping policy, but they're also listening to the heartbeat of you, the people. They're inviting you based on the takeaway from this task force. And I know there's a lot of information out there, but because this is the building blocks of where we're going to go. And we asked the questions, we've heard the comments, we've seen some of you posting here, and that really matters. All the information they can get really, really matters. And we know when it comes to data, when it comes to privacy, culture, and our community, making sure that no one is left behind, that is going to be at the forefront. Yes, but this journey doesn't end here. It begins with each one of us. So whether you're a parent, a student, a business owner, or simply just someone curious about the next chapter, your voice honestly matters, and that's why they were here. Your questions matter as well. And your participation is the key to making this strategy not just a government initiative, but a national movement. So here's my call to action for you. I want you to stay informed. I want you to show up to those community forums. And I also want you to ask the hard questions. Yeah. And most of all, I want you to dream boldly about the digital future what that can look like for us here in the Cayman Islands. Because transformation isn't just about technology. It's about people. It's about us. So again, it has been my pleasure bringing you another episode of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for learning with us. And until next time, keep speaking the truth, keep speaking light, and keep building the future you want to live in. It has been my pleasure. Have a good evening and be safe on the roads. Take care. Love you lots. That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.